15-year-old schoolboy is the first person to be charged with rioting following nationwide disorder last week. So rioting can carry a maximum term of 10 years in jail, which could be double than that for violent disorder. So 1,100 people have now been arrested for their part in the riots. Nearly 650 have been charged. Just, Paul, give me your reflections on events of the last 2 weeks. It's sort of easy to forget that all of this was triggered by the stabbing of those 3 young, innocent, beautiful girls at a Taylor Swift dance class. And then that started a domino effect, didn't it? Which has, I would say, in some way allowed us to see the true face of who this new Prime Minister is and his deeply draconian and authoritarian ambitions to clamp down on any sort of dissenting think in this country.
I like tough justice, and I have no doubt that some of these characters deserve to be sent to jail for a very long time. What some of them did was monstrous, and we cannot ignore that.
Do you draw a distinction between what they say and what they do in that?
I do. I think if you go and set light to a migrant hotel with women and children inside, it's attempted murder, and you deserve a very, very long stretch in prison. So I've got no problem with tough justice. What I have a problem with is selective tough justice. And I think that what we're seeing play out in our courts at the moment is a little bit performative and a little bit political. Because we don't see this tough justice at any other time. We are constantly reading stories of offenders, serious offenders, violent offenders in some cases, being spared jail or being given a suspended sentence.
That was under the Conservatives, of course. That was 14 years of Conservative government, though.
It's been under every government for many years. And we read these stories in the media and we can't understand it and we get angry at it. We see violent thugs with a long litany of previous convictions released once again, community order, a suspended sentence. And people get really angry about that because people say, look, if that's what you're doing to your community, if you're a repeat and serious and violent offender, you deserve to be dealt with the full force of the law quickly, and you should go to prison for a long time. But we know in our hearts, and the evidence shows us, that that doesn't really happen. So when you see what we're seeing at the moment with these characters who are being sent to jail for a long time because they've put something on Facebook, or, you know, because they got a little bit, you know, robust and aggressive in front of a police line at a riot, you kind of think, well, hold on a second, why can't the law be that efficient and that harsh the whole time? And the two-tier thing will stick, maybe not so much now, but when the status quo returns again, and in a few weeks' time or a few months' time, we start reading stories in the media of people getting suspended sentences and community orders for really serious offences. That's when the two-tier thing might then start to stick, I think.
Ben, I'm dying to talk to you about this as well, because there's this case, this 53-year-old, this woman, Julie Sweeney, she was given a 15-month jail sentence this week. She posted on Facebook, I'll tell you what she said. She said, don't protect the mosques, blow the mosques up with the adults in it. She admitted she said it in anger because of what she mistakenly thought was the perpetrator of the Southport stabbings, having been a Muslim, and reports of somebody in that area who's a Muslim. That evening, he was caught with a knife in the area. She deleted it really quickly, knew she'd been stupid. And in response, her husband, David Sweeney, has told The Telegraph today, and she is his full-time carer, she was, he said 3 police cars turned up, there were 3 officers. What's that about? It's too big a force for what it was. It's just crazy. It's a big loss. She's my right arm. It does anger you. It's over the top, well over the top. It's hard to come to terms with. She got angry on the night. We watched a news item with her. It just wound her up because of what had happened to those 3 girls. And she's gone to prison for 15 months, leaving him at home on his own without her as a carer. I can't make that make sense, Ben.
I can't make it make sense either. And I mean, I completely endorse everything Paul said. But I would add that this hasn't just been two-tier policing. This has been a two-tiered criminal justice system and a completely... it's almost straight out of the EU playbook. You know, whenever the EU has a crisis or there's a problem, they grant themselves more power. And we've seen Keir Starmer do it this time, you know, reference this woman and the way she's been treated. He's used it to absolutely clamp down on what some of us might regard as free speech. Now, in no way can you endorse someone advocating the burning down of a building.
Of course.
And that is an incitement to violence, which is illegal. But to go in the way that they did, heavily-handed, arrest this woman after she deleted it, she should have got off with a caution.
Yeah.
And the other thing that comes to my mind is the infantilizing of the electorate. The notion that people are moved to violence because some 53-year-old has published a stupid tweet online is to infantilise the electorate and to effectively promote into a position of power that this 53-year-old... I mean, I don't know how many followers she had, but I can't imagine many people looked at the tweet.
There were about 5,000 people who followed her on Facebook, but I completely agree with you because...
I think it was in a group with 5,000
in a group with
5,000
people. But, Paul, this idea that somehow mild-mannered British citizens are watching Coronation Street and they come across a tweet on their phone and they are so sort of zombified by what they read on the internet, they suddenly get up and go and smash in a police car. It makes no logical sense. We're giving them too much power.
And no one is in the political class is considering the real reason why some of this has started. They think it's all down to Elon Musk, disinformation from foreign states or Tommy Robinson. And if they draw those conclusions, I think they are completely myopic. Or maybe they're disingenuous. Maybe they know, actually, that there are deeper issues and questions in some of these communities, but they just don't want to discuss those issues because they know that they would then have a hell of a lot of work to do to try to solve some of the problems. So, you know, best not to raise those things as problems.
And it's
why they... But working class people are not dupes. You're absolutely right. They're not dupes. They're not idiots. They can't be hoodwinked in that way. The idea that all of these grievances and this resentment that has been burning away in these communities for a long time, we put that to one side, do we? And we say, no, it's because of something that Nigel Farage said, or it's because of the rhetoric of people like
Something that Elon Musk said.
It's insulting to ordinary people to say that they are that easily misled by that.
That's right.
Sort of
and you know, just to reiterate, there were police officers injured in these riots. That particularly makes my blood boil. These guys and girls are going out there and doing a really, really important job, and the last thing anybody should feel they are allowed to do in this country is to injure a police officer.
But, I mean, on that point, the two Manchester chaps at the airport have yet to be charged. And we've had summary judgment against a whole, I think, 300-odd people or something have been arrested and charged in relation to the riots. But the two guys who broke a female police officer's nose at Manchester Airport have yet to be charged. And, you know, that raises questions in the public. Why not?
They gave their own press conference to put their side of the story across. Go on.
I was going to say, you sort of put the blame earlier, or you certainly mentioned Keir Starmer as if he were responsible. I mean, look, I'm not Keir Starmer's biggest fan, but I'll come to his defence on this. I think, actually, we need to look at the judges who are, as I say, a lot of them are perfectly justified in terms of the sentences. I've got no problem with many of them, probably most of them. But some of them, I suspect, some judges are perhaps enjoying their moment in the spotlight a little bit. I think there's probably a bit of a ratchet effect going on, where judges are looking at other reports coming in and seeing the really hard line that's being taken by their colleagues and thinking, well, I can't be seen as out of step. I've got to jump on the bandwagon as well, and I've got to impose some tough sentences. I don't think we can necessarily... I'm sure Starmer supports a lot of this stuff, by the way, but he's only been in for a month, Ben, and I don't think we can say that this is all down to...
No, I mean, I have to...
Keir Starmer telling the judges what to do or setting the tone or something.
Keir Starmer, as a democratically elected Prime Minister, diagnosed the problem himself by getting up and saying this is all far-right thuggery. I mean, the idea that he could know the political disposition of thousands of people across the United Kingdom who've gone rioting is absolutely ludicrous. But he categorised them as far-right because he wanted not to address their genuine complaint. He wanted to rubbish them. He wanted to make it as if they don't have a genuine complaint. And then seamlessly he went on to say they will be arrested, they will be charged, there will be draconian punishments handed out.
But the judges don't have to go along.
No, but they don't. But he absolutely invoked the criminal justice system.
You're saying he set the tone?
He set the tone, and he's the Prime Minister. And what he should have said, and he could absolutely justifiably say, is they will feel the full force of the law. But it's up to the law to dispense justice. It's not up to the Prime Minister to tell the courts, effectively direct the criminal justice system in how it should behave. And that's what he was doing. He said these are far-right thugs and they should be taken to task and locked up.
But we have to also criticise the judges, because
absolutely.
we have to send the message to the judges, look, the judiciary is supposed to be independent from the government.
No doubt.
And just because a Prime Minister, I mean, Tory MPs and Home Secretaries have always stood up for years saying, we want judges to do this, and judges are quite happy to ignore them.
Paul,
so we need to say to the judges, well, actually, you need to exercise your independence in some of these sentences.
But I mean, I can't say unequivocally it's cause and effect. But if you look at the timeline, you get the riots, you get the Prime Minister directing the courts to do what he wants them to do, and then they do it. And to the common man on the Clapham omnibus, that doesn't stack up well.
But I think we do also need to say that comments like Julie Sweeney's, the comments that she made on that Facebook group, were repugnant. I mean, let's be absolutely clear. We do need to.
But
stress
would you lock her up for 15 months?
But is she a threat to the public?
But equally, I think she probably does need to be publicly shamed for those sorts of comments, because they were outrageous. But I don't see what's going to be gained by sending... I mean, you know, people say it's incitement. How many people realistically were likely to act on those words? They were crass, they were hyperbolic.
They were angry.
They were certainly angry. I suspect no one was ever likely to act on them. And the punishment has to be commensurate with the crime. And I'm a near absolutist on this stuff. Unless there is genuine incitement to violence, where people are likely to act on the words that are being, or the statement that's being made, I think in a free society, people have got to have the right to post offensive, even grossly.
And you know what's happened?
And
I don't know
who becomes the arbiter on this.
Yeah.
Well, you know what's happened in the wake of this is that lots of controversial commentators have stopped posting, Ben.
Even senior people in Reform have gone silent.
Quite.
Have you noticed?
I've noticed.
It's got its benefits then, Ben.
But you see, this is...
I haven't gone quiet.
But it depends. Do we want to live in a country where we are quiet because we are frightened? That is your tyranny of silence right there. When I just saw that Kim Jong-un is having tourists in North Korea, and I thought, that's interesting. And I thought, I wonder if he's looked across the UK and gone, well, they're more totalitarian than I am now in the UK, and they've got tourists, and maybe we can have the same thing. I mean, the tone that has been set in the last couple of weeks...
It has.
I find deeply, deeply worrying. Right.